Adam, I am really good at driving swivel with perfect pass.
Matt, I am really good at driving my wife nuts.
It's showtime. This is The Ski Show, the ultimate show ski podcast, and your one and only source for all things show skiing, bringing you news, knowledge, and interviews with the legends and stars of our sport. Here are your hosts, Matt Heilman and Adam Schaller.
Welcome to The Ski Show, still the only media on the planet dedicated to the sport of show skiing. It's July, it's tournament season. We are talking to three of the top towboat drivers in the game today. We're talking easy pulls, hard pulls, favorite acts, flow, patterns, fun, and more. It's going to be a great one.
Yep, and today's sponsors are Flyman Skis, custom-made jump skis and featherboard swivel skis at affordable prices. Get yours at flymanskis.com. And by the Board Shop, all your summer and winter board sports gear is yours at bswake.com.
Adam, we're nearing mid-July, and nearly every team in South Central Wisconsin and Northern Illinois and Iowa, some in Minnesota, are off the water due to high water levels. Insane. I think every team's going to be glad to get to their tournament so they can finally do a show.
Yeah, I mean, as we're recording this, Mad City is not officially off the water, but we're getting about 2 inches of rain. So I'm guessing when this is released, we are off the water. But
we will be. I saw a video today of the water over our show line at Law Park. It's over done. The rocks. Right. We're toast.
We're toast.
Yeah.
So yes, being able to, because who knows when we'll get back. So being able to put on a show in front of an audience is going to be fantastic. At the same time, and on the flip side, I'll say, we're going into the Wisconsin State tournament, which is the largest water ski tournament in the world, and teams will not be at their best, right? I mean, if you don't have water time, it's hard to really get that flow and hence the production and all of that dialed in. So, which is unfortunate, but you know what? Mm-hmm. If we're all in the same boat, great. So be it. Yep. Let's do it. Let's throw it out there and let's have fun.
Yep, it'll be interesting. It'll be a fun state tournament. I think there's going to be a lot of excitement at state, a lot of possibilities. We talked about last episode with all three divisions, and it's going to be a good tournament season for everybody. It should be fun. So let's do today's show ski trivia, Adam. With today being all about towboat driving, guess what? Your question is about towboat driving. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to give you a 10-year window, Adam. In the last 10 years, dating back to 2013 Nationals, who has won the most best towboat driving box score awards in the last 10 years?
Before I answer, I will say this. I read the question ahead of time, Jesus. And I still don't know where the hell I would find this information. So I do not... No, I'm strictly guessing, but I'm gonna have a very definitive guess. I'm gonna say Rock Aqua Jays.
It is the Rock Aqua Jays with 5. They've won 5 of the last 10 best towboat at D1 Nationals. We're talking here. Yep. Do you know who's next?
Mad City
with 4.
Okay.
So 9 of the last 10 at Nationals best towboat driving have been won by Rock Aqua Jays or Mad City. Can you guess the lone other one?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I'm going to say Aquanuts.
No. Wonder Lake in 2016 when they won Nationals.
That would have been my next guess, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you know, final question with this, how many of those best towboat driving teams did that team win Nationals that year?
Most of them. How's that? A majority?
Most is a fair 6. So four times the best towboat driving team did not win Nationals. And it actually happened to the Aquanuts twice. We've got Bob Koehler on the show today. When they won Nationals in 2015 and in 2022, they did not win best towboat driving in those years. As great as Bob is in their team, it's surprising they haven't won more.
I will say it is pretty cool when a team that doesn't end up winning nationals wins some box scores. I like.
Yeah,
that.
That's fun.
That's
fun.
That's fun.
Yep. So there you go. There's today's show ski trivia. Before we get to today's guest, let's chat about the board shop. Jason Richling just reached out today, actually, and he wants to outfit Team USA with some gear. They've got so much awesome stuff that you need to get for summer.
That's right. Boards, vests, bindings, apparel, accessories, and so much more. And what a treat it is to visit their shop in Lake Geneva. You've got to see it in person.
Yep. And if you can't make it to Lake Geneva, you can get everything you want. Summer gear, winter gear, get it online at bswake.com. That's bswake.com.
Time for today's featured interview. We are talking all things towboat driving with three of the top drivers in the game. We're certain you're going to walk away with a little more knowledge and respect for the drivers on your team. Let's welcome to the show Chris Jemec, Bob Koehler, and Aaron Schoelzel. Hello, guys.
Good evening.
How are we doing this evening?
Hey, guys.
Matt and Adam, good to see you.
Thanks for being here, guys. This is awesome. It's going to be fun.
Thanks for having us.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, let's do it. How about we start with each of you introducing yourselves, what team you're on, how long you've been driving. Chris, we'll start with you.
Hi, I'm Chris Jemec. I drive for Cypress Gardens. I started there in 2018. I came over from the Lakeland Water Ski Club, looking for something a little bigger, a little better, to hone in those driving skills a little bit. Lakeland's a pretty small club, so moving over to Cypress was a big transition.
How long were you driving for Lakeland?
About 2.5 years.
Okay.
I started with them around 2015, 2016. Yeah, I started show skiing back in 1994. And then did a couple stints and then took some time off and came back, took some time off, came back. But it's been pretty solid since about 2015, 2016 now.
All right.
Bob, how about you?
I drive for Aquanaut Water Shows. I've been driving for 22 years now. We started in 2002. And I skied with the Aquanauts in the early 80s and the Aquanaut heyday and had a great time then. And then I went away, raised our kids, and our kids just took a love to it. So we're back and been in it ever since. So
excellent. And Aaron.
Drive for the Rock Aqua Jays. I started driving for them in 2019 part-time, switching seats with Joel Williams when he was in Michigan. Found out that J.R. Wilson was looking to retire at the end of that year, and that gave me a shot at the triple rig, and been there since, and been doing this since 1982, the show ski world.
Wow.
I wish I was like Chris and maybe taking some years off in between, but here we are.
So you guys, you all mentioned it, you all were show skiers before you were show drivers, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
yes, sir.
So do skiers make better drivers?
That's
I
up
think
for
so.
debate.
Chris, you think so? Is that what I heard?
I think so. Yeah, you have the awareness of what's going on, behind the wheel, and as a skier, you see, you understand what's happening back there at the other end of the rope.
Yeah,
Aaron, Bob, you agree?
so all the boat drivers that are non-skiers are gonna not like it, but yeah, I have to agree with Chris. There's certainly there's an awareness of seeing somebody go over the jump doing the front, what they're doing, what's happening, whether they're going to be short or long, and stuff like that. So yeah, I think there's definitely an advantage for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been great boat drivers that weren't skiers, but the vast majority of drivers that excel probably have been skiers at some point in some fashion.
Now, are you guys all outboard drivers?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yeah, right now, yeah.
Do you guys wish you had a windshield? I mean, does that ever come into play?
Tonight I did.
There are a lot of
windshield and a
days
big
when we
top.
take them over the bow. The windshield would do a lot of deflecting at the water that lands in our lap. But
For sure.
I mean, when you turn, do you make sure to turn left more often so your driver gets wet, your rider gets wet, and you don't?
100%.
I would never do that to my rider.
She scooches closer so she doesn't get wet.
Yeah.
That's the
Lisa
beauty of having
Smith.
your wife ride with you, Bob. I don't want Andy Snow sitting any closer to me than he has to.
Lisa Smith, Ed Torres' daughter, has been my rider for the last few months, and she knows she's a boat driver's daughter, and she knows she's getting a splash every ride.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite act to pull? And why? Favorite act to pull and why? Aaron, start with you.
My favorite act to pull is probably ballet. Because my wife is in it, and if I don't do well in it, I live with her and I get to deal with it all night long.
Does she tell you when you've had a crappy pull?
Every time, buddy, every time.
Mine too.
It's been fun, our ballet line, and since I started driving in Amanda's Sketchy ballet captain has really taken off, and it's been fun to see them improve and myself as a driver able to pull the bigger line, and our site's obviously small to turn 30 plus girls, so that's a challenge. So that's why I went to boat driving, was for the challenge.
Yeah.
Bob, how about you?
I do enjoy. We have our ballet 2 act where we just split the barge, which is always kind of become a signature for us. So that's always a fun one, especially when the barge is not in line with the main pier. It becomes a little bit more interesting. And then I got to say I've had the luck of pulling one of the best jumpers in the world with Ethan, and doing Ethan's quick jump is a pretty good fun time too. So I like that.
And doing that in an outboard where you're riding that thing, turning it on its side and hauling your butt back and forth. I mean, it's got to be fun.
It's a good time, and it's nice to have a world-class skier who makes you look real good.
On your dock split ballet, who has the hardest job? You, the riders doing the hot pick, or the barge drivers getting those poles in and getting that thing set at the right distance?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is an equal responsibility for sure. I mean, especially if we're at Rockford and the river's flowing, the guys on the barge have a hard time. It's a challenge, and then the very first time when you do it, when you barge pulls away and you go to throw the poles down, you realize that Lake Wazicha is deeper than 10 feet, and you throw the pole right to the bottom of the lake. That's always so we got a couple of poles at the bottom of Lake Wazicha. But for sure, if there's a current, the guys in the barge have a heck of a time. But the girls that are in the boat grabbing the leaders have to worry about not stepping on the release as they go back into their seat. And so it's a fun act. It's always a good time.
Very cool. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, so we just came off tournament for us in the southern region, and I have two of my favorite acts. Opening barefoot, we're pushing our numbers with 15 to 16 guys, and with those guys, I talk so much shit to them before they get on the water, and it just makes it so much more fun, pushing them and the shit talking back and everything. Mm-hmm. And then we're doing different things. We started doing a hot pickup on our ballet, so we're starting with 16 and picking up 10. So it's a lot of fun to have that challenge. Mm-hmm. It took us quite a few weeks to get that down and dialed in, but it's worked out really well for us.
I know from show directing that drivers hate coming to practice and being bored and not having enough to do and sitting there. They hate it. If you guys could design what your perfect practice looks like, and what are you driving? What does that look like on a practice night? Chris, fire away.
So Joey O'Connor's our show director, and she tries to schedule everything, where we're going to make the most out of what boat is at the practice that night. So if the Twins there, we're doing ballet, we're doing pyramid and large conventional lines and stuff. So it works out. We don't have that big challenge, but sometimes we have those nights where there's 3 or 4 boats there, and somebody's sitting around for 45 minutes until their strap doubles act is up or whatever. So it's
But do you
Joey
have
works it out
things you
really well.
prefer to? Do you have things you prefer to drive in a practice night? If you could design a practice and you get to drive these 3 things, what does that look like for you?
Oh man, I don't know. That's a tough call. They're all fun and they're all different,
Yeah.
so it's really hard to say. We do a lot of ballet work, a lot of swivel work at CG.
Aaron, how about you?
I would love to pull things that go fast.
Yeah, all right.
Chris just said he gets the pull opening barefoot. Bob pulls Kaylee and circle and quick jump. I go 25 miles an hour and 5 high. That's my top speed. So if I got to design a practice, the triples we can pull jump all night long, and the inboards we get to go slow. But no, we're blessed with obviously Dave Raisin and all the shorters we've had here. We do definitely make the best of our practice time, and a lot of times we send out a text message saying, "Hey, triples don't show up until 6:30 because it's open jump and swivel. Otherwise, we show up at 5:30 and then I float down the river and twiddle my thumbs for 45 minutes and should have brought a fishing pole." But we've done the best we can to eliminate that.
Yep. Bob, how about you?
I guess I look at it a little bit differently. I don't envy the show director position. It's a tough enough job. I look at it as a gift to be out there on the water. And if I've got to sit there and float around for a little while stuff goes, it happens. Hey, man, I'm out there to enjoy a beautiful evening and be on a boat. If I got to sit for a little bit, I'll sit for a little bit. When they're ready for me, I come in and do it, So, I mean, I hate to complain and say, hey, man, there's sometimes where it gets frustrating, but they got a tough enough job as it is. And I see people complaining and I say, hey, they're up dry land and they're getting stuff done. So let them be and enjoy your evening.
Love that perspective. That's cool.
It could be worse. The pickup boat drivers never get to pull anything, so they literally float all night. And God bless them guys for doing that job.
Yeah.
Our challenge in Florida is just so hot. We're 90, 95, 100 degrees, with the humidity. Sitting out there is just murder sometimes, if you're not moving.
Yeah.
So we talked about your favorite act to pull. Now I want to narrow it down even more. What's the single coolest thing you've ever pulled in all your years of driving? What is the one? What's the one thing that stands? What's the one for you guys? The coolest thing you've ever pulled? Aaron, we'll start with you.
My kids. Watching my kids ski the first time ever was awesome. Skiing behind the boat. Show related, the first time I pulled the 5 high. That was just incredible. And then closely followed by the World's Practice last year. Getting to pull that talent was just absolutely insane to be a part of that. And
yeah, that's cool.
Bob Koehler, how about you?
I'm going to probably be in line a little bit with Aaron. I've been lucky enough to have 2 girls that love the sport, and I've had a lot of fun pulling them in their acts and doing double back barefoot circles and stuff, which has always been a lot of fun. But then, I say a close second was the 9 boat pattern that we did at Worlds in 2022. That was, a lot of people, it was just so cool to dance as a team of drivers and make that flow really nice and easy. And it was really fun. All of us knew exactly what the other one was going to do and just jumped in and out. And that was a fun act. And it was just, a lot of people really enjoyed it, I think.
You're right, they did. We got a lot of compliments on that act. Like, it's a long act, and there's a lot of swivel and doubles back and forth, but the flow and the driving and what you guys orchestrated we got so many compliments on that. So kudos to you guys. That was fun.
So you were part of that, Matt.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, it was good.
Chris, how about you? Coolest thing you've ever pulled?
Yeah, so I wish I could say, it was my kids, but my wife and I, we just had a baby 7 weeks ago. So hopefully in about a year, we already got the trainer skis ready to go. But show-wise, back in 2021, we did a double ballet line where we did a handoff halfway through the circle. You know, we went from, I think, 12 or 15 to 24, you know, handing off, you know, ropes to a second boat. And, you know, it was a challenge for me just because it was one of those acts. Our twin driver at the time got sick the week before. So I ended up stepping into his place, you know, with about 2 days of practice going into Southern Regionals. And, you know, we handled it. We handled it the way we should have. So it worked out really well.
That's awesome. What is your least favorite thing to drive? If you could do away with some portion of show skiing, something you just don't want to drive, like, please don't pick me.
Loaded question.
My microphone stopped working. I'm sorry. I don't know that I have a least favorite thing. I'll jump in on this one. I don't think I have a least favorite thing. You know, I echo Bobo, but we're out there in the boat. I don't want to sit there and float. So if I'm sitting on the end of the dock and one of the girls like, hey, you want to pull me swiveling? Well, let's go. Mm-hmm. I came down here to drive the boat, so let's go boating.
Okay. You all gonna follow that line of thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about like junior club or like those kneeboard kids that just want to keep going, or I don't know.
Kneeboarding.
Yeah.
Kneeboarding.
Yeah.
I reluctantly gave Bria MZ for her wedding shower gift a 20-minute set of kneeboarding, and she still hasn't cashed in on it yet. I told her it expired in April, but I had to give her a renew. So one of these days I'm gonna have to pull her kneeboarding. I dread it.
Awesome.
No, and pulling junior team is actually as rewarding as pulling the A team. Anyway, you get to watch these young kids start growing and learning. So that's a lot of fun for, I'd probably say, all of us to watch the little kids start to excel. So,
yeah,
Adam,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I typically don't schedule myself on our training night. Just it's a long night of a lot of slow pulls.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have 32 certified drivers in our club, so you know everybody gets around.
32?
Yeah.
Oh
holy crap!
And I think we might be pushed up to almost 40 in the next couple weeks.
You're gonna have 40 members.
Well,
Cypress has more certified
start...
drivers than the Aquanauts have members.
That's amazing.
I'm trying to put together an all-female driver crew for a show in like August or September. We're going to see how that works out.
That's cool. Well, Adam, you know, Bob mentioned kneeboarding. You know who's not making kneeboards? That is Flyman Skis. They're sticking to jump skis and swivel skis, not kneeboards. And they've got athletes all over sporting Flyman skis. Their custom-made jump skis and featherboard swivel skis are everywhere.
Well, if I ask nicely, I think they might try and make me a kneeboard, but I won't ask. But yes, that's right. All these skis are made for skiers by skiers. The jumpers now come in honeycomb. You can customize your graphics and get a cool looking stock design, whatever you pick. The top athletes everywhere are riding on Flymans.
Yep. You know exactly where to get your Flyman skis. That's at flymanskis.com, flymanskis.com. All right. Well, let's get into a little bit of like show stuff. I can't let an episode go by without talking, kind of show directing, flow, patterns, and things. So I want to talk to you guys about this. Do you guys play a role in shaping your team's boat patterns, or are those typically designed by your show director? Bob, I'll start with you.
It depends on the show director, for sure. Some will tap into, some knowledge, and some choose to, kind of wing it on their own. If I get really frustrated enough or something, if I see something that's just really rough, I'll just say, hey, what about if we tried this, or something like that? I might step in and offer something like that. But, generally don't. But a lot of them will ask, most of them will ask my opinion. What do you think about this? And think about it, I'll offer it. But, they got a tough job. So.
Yep. Aaron, how about you? Do you play a role in your team's pattern design, or is that done by the show director?
Again, depends on show director. But even it doesn't matter if it's, Jerry Lighting, Dave Raisin, my wife, Ian, when they were show directors, we do have input. When we're in the boat and running the pattern, if it's not right, doesn't feel right, we'll get on the radio, hey, make a note of this does not work. Can we look at it? And then, a lot of times right after that, we'll rerun it and try and figure out what we can do to make it better. And then we relay that information to the show director. And we go to the warehouse after practice and we'll sit down and discuss, what can we do to make that better? That does not work.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I'd agree with Aaron. I think our show director does most of our patterns, and with 5 drivers, our input's always there, to make it better, tighten it up, or, we do everything in a circle. You guys up north do a lot of straight line stuff. We do a lot of circles. Yep. So it's, it's a big difference.
Aaron, when you go back to the boathouse, are those calm discussions when you guys talk?
Well, Bob, they've been much calmer the last several years. There was a moment in time a few years ago that they weren't so calm, but we've gotten over that.
Do you guys have a beer fridge at your warehouse?
We used to. That is no longer allowed.
Oh, okay.
Now it has some 2-year-old muffins in there that we're waiting to see how long they sit there.
Perfect.
This next question is really, I think, going to help our listeners to emphasize to our listeners the importance of, boat driving in the show. And that is, how can a driver help the flow of the show? And Chris, I'll start with you on that one.
Oh, it's all about timing. If you're early or late, it's you make that flow, and if you're off by, just a few seconds, it really, really distracts things. And, hopefully everybody else is recognizing what you're doing to keep up with you.
I mean, with experience, do you just kind of get a sense of the distance between your boat and the boat in front of you? And it's kind of like that self-regulating cruise control on cars, right? That distance, you always kind of try to keep that about the same, I would imagine, with experience, with time and experience that it really, you just kind of know, right? I mean, is that right, Bob?
Yeah. I mean, for sure it takes a lot of time, and, it's for some of the newer guys leading patterns, stuff. It's a little bit harder to lead certain patterns like that. So you can, when someone's a little bit newer behind the wheel, you can kind of like sandwich them in between some boats and stuff. But, like we talked about earlier, having a little bit of understanding as a skier too, what things you can slow way down. I mean, if you have stuff in a strap or in a harness, you can't slow down to 7 miles an hour like you can with a swivel skier. So with a swivel skier, you can kind of close the gap and then slow down and then adjust your spacing. But you can't always do that when you got straps with you. You gotta be able to know what your spacing is going to be ahead of time. So,
Bob, I think you make a great point there too. I get a lot of questions from show directors about show production and designing their show and their patterns and things, but they don't always think about sandwiching that new driver if you're in a 4-boat big act pattern, they're boat 2 or 3. They're not the lead boat. And you want your experienced driver to be the lead boat, because to Adam's point, that sense of timing on that corner, it's all about feel and timing on timing it back to the show course. And generally, the new guys need some experience getting up to speed with that. So putting your new guys in the middle of a pattern can help your boat patterns for sure. Aaron, how about you?
Well, we're spoiled at our site when we get to ski there. Our docks are all set that if you hit the docks at certain times, you will be on time once you're in motion. Getting off the dock and stuff like that, that's just practice and being comfortable around the pier with your boat. Your dock handlers handing ropes to you quickly, and your pin handlers getting them hooked up properly. But yeah, I mean, same thing. If you got new drivers, they get sandwiched. Big, huge thing for when I learned, watching J.R. Wilson, Joel, Brian Pishka, all those guys I've learned from, look over your shoulder, watch what the boats behind you are doing. I don't really have that internal clock per se, but if you ever watch me drive the boat, my body's cranked around watching what boat is in line, and okay, boat 4 is at such and such a spot. I need to be into the turn heading back in. But yeah, you got to use your eyes. It's a big part of the game.
Talking about queuing and timing, just a quick follow-up question to that. Does on your team, for each one of you, do you all have somebody that cues you, like somebody on the radio that's calling go boat?
I was going to ask the same question, Adam. Okay. Or do you go when ready? Like, Aaron, when you're driving 5 high, are you hooking and going, or are you waiting for a cue? Or
so, for like our 5 high, depending on what's opening the show, if it's BFPs, back riffle line, like we have our drivers, you don't have a cue on there. As soon as you see spray. Mm-hmm. Well, unfortunately, I have some alpha males on the dock down there that will tell me, you're not leaving yet. But once I see that spray, the boat starts idling out, leading out, then we go. But, like prefab, for instance, 2 years ago was go when ready. Mm-hmm. They had a pretty healthy skit written into there, and we were getting pretty dialed in on rolling out, and they had to scrap essentially an entire skit because I think it was Dave on the mic, and he looked over and he was just like, we got to go. We're wrapping up. So
Adam knows all about that.
Yeah, we do a lot of go when readies. That our show is 59 minutes, 59 seconds, pretty much year in, year out. So we don't have a whole lot of time to sit and wait. If the boats are ready and hooked, we got to go.
Bob, how about you? You guys have somebody that calls a show coordinator? I guess every team's probably got a different name for it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, you kind of hit the nail on the head. If we're lucky enough to have enough people to have a show coordinator, the show coordinator is critical. Having somebody on shore is absolutely critical. And we don't always have that. Sometimes our show coordinator is jumping into the ballet line or something like that. So, and generally, as you now get into this time of the season where you're starting to get closer and closer to state, you kind of are figuring things out about, well, this act, if you're ready, you go. But this act, we've got a water calmer. And even sometimes we're using the announcer when the announcer turns and looks at you, or whatever. I'm sure, Adam, you do that. Say, when I say this, that's your cue to start rolling out. So it can be different every time. But having a show coordinator that's the best thing you can have if they know the show.
And we do have a show coordinator, but a lot of our stuff is on the go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Chris, how about Cypress? What do you guys do?
We pretty much run how Bob says. We have a show coordinator coming up in the tournament, and then most of our stuff is on the go, and you use the cues off the stage, and it's we work on our show for so long throughout the year. You pretty much have it all dialed in. Mm-hmm. We're, like I said, we're 12 months. We don't stop. We don't take breaks.
Do you guys, when you're watching another team, another tournament show, and you see another team thriving or another driver thriving, what does that look like? What are they doing well when you're watching a good driver or a good drive team do their thing in a ski show? What does that look like? What are they doing well?
You don't notice them.
Okay.
If Bob's pulling a great show and, Ethan's skiing great and Kaylee's doing her circles and, their tricks up, if their show's going well, I do watch. I watch Bob pull ballet. I watch Jaws pull ballet. Due to the game. But, if Twin Lakes is having a great show, I don't really watch Bob per se. I'm watching the skiers because they're so fast bringing stuff in where, Janesville, Mad City, some of the bigger teams, we do take a little bit of time to get stuff rolling bigger. Twin Lakes, I love watching their show because they are so quick at turning stuff around. And if I don't notice the boat team doing stuff, when the mistakes happen, that's when you start watching the boat driver and going, oh boy, he's having a bad day.
Mm-hmm. Chris, how about you? What does that look like when you're watching a good drive team?
Yeah, I'd agree with Aaron. It's if the flow is there and it's flowing well, you don't notice the drive team. You're watching everything that's going on the water. That's where the show is.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Bob, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, just, watching, that's one of the things that we are known for. We're known for a fast show, so, and when you get kind of like used to trying to pull a show that's quick, there's sometimes we're out there where when you're driving, you think like, oh my gosh, this is taking forever. And then after you're done, when you're watching, oh, that wasn't too bad, But when sometimes you're in the boat and you think, oh my gosh, this is killing us. But yeah, everything going smooth, but you know how it is as show directors and as drivers and stuff. When things start going downhill and snowballing, it snowballs into a disaster, and we've all been a part of that, and it's not fun.
No.
How important is a good boat rider, Bob?
Huge. I've been lucky enough to have my wife ride with me for a long, long time, and it's caused some stress here and there at the home life. But no, she's phenomenal. Telling things that's going on behind my back, and hey, just so you know, this happened, and doing quick catch things on Ballet 2 and all that kind of stuff. So it's huge. It's a big deal, and absolutely, it's a critical part. It's just as important as the driver itself.
Chris, how about you?
Yeah, it's my spotter's the person I rely on that person more than anything in the boat. She's always watching, and I like to be talked to. There's some spotters who keep their mouth shut the entire time, but I want to know everything that's going on behind me, because looking over those big Mercury motors, I can't see anything. So it's it's her that's telling me somebody's down, or faster or slower, or we need to do this or we need to do that. And if it's not for my rider, our boat would be dead. So I rely on them a lot.
Aaron?
I've been blessed to have the same rider since I got into the triple. Andy's job is thankless, and he pulls in gobs of rope. So we've worked out that relationship. And again, we talked about earlier, when we're out there floating, sometimes, we're in the water for 3.5, 4 hours a night. You got to have somebody you can want to sit in that boat with for 4 hours. Otherwise, that's going to be a miserable evening sitting in the boat. So, but no, a good rider is, I don't know that I could drive if I had a rider that I did not get along with, have some good times, have some laughs. And I'm a little bit different than Chris. I don't want my rider telling me a lot. I do look over my shoulder a lot. I use my mirrors a lot. I've got a headset on, so I hear radio calls. So I just have the one ear open. So I don't want a lot of chatter there. I like to hear what my boat's doing, stuff like that. So,
do your riders, particularly when there's show changes, do they help you with reminders? Like, remember, you've got to take jump off of this end, or, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. Are they helpful in reminding you of things?
100%. 100%. Yeah. It's just don't, I'll be pulling in the middle of an act or whatever, and say, don't forget, when we land here, we got to go to the back pier. We've got this next, stuff. And especially when our wonderful show directors make switches midstream and say, we're going to do this differently. And to say, okay, you get used to doing something, say, okay, now we got to switch again. So yeah, great riders will tell you, don't forget, we got to do this.
Drivers are a creature of habit. They like their repetitions and getting that showdown. And so, yeah, that makes sense. What wild stories do you guys have? Like, maybe it's a crazy act you pulled off. Maybe it was something sketchy you lived through, a unique experience driving. You got any wild, tall tales to tell us? Aaron, how about you?
My first year in a triple, I almost sank it in Warsaw.
Woo! How'd you do that?
Bring an opening pyramid around the corner, and I mentioned to our maintenance director that when I got out of throttle, my left motor would die, and going into the corner, that motor died, and all of a sudden, I got up on edge, and the water was breaking across the gas cap and filling the boat with water, and just staying gas, and also the pyramid finally, I think, realized that we were in a really crappy situation, and they all let go. So I think I got driver points for a perfect landing because they're all in the same spot. So I literally drove across the show course with the double top ropes dragging behind me and nobody coming through on one motor. I stopped and dropped ropes off. I couldn't stop long because I was thinking. I had water up to my knees inside that boat. I had 2 bilge pumps running. I stopped very briefly to grab a Rubbermaid tote, and Andy was bailing water. In the little back corner at Warsaw, I was running circles trying to pop start motors because they would not refire, and finally got them refired just in time to go pull prefab. Bob Brockman had to step in and pull my ballet line. It was
that's an interesting story because
for an hour and a half after the show was over.
Because Bob mentioned earlier, when something goes south, it's hard to recover, or it just goes bad. And that Warsaw show, that started with Tristan wrecking himself in the opener, and then that pyramid happened after that, right? And the same show.
This was the very first Warsaw tournament we went to in June.
Oh, the June tournament. Got it. Okay, so I wasn't in the same national show.
Nope, that was not.
June. Okay.
There was a long factor in that back corner of I might be out. I was on the radio, and I'm like, I'll let you know if I'm good to go. And when I got all 3 running and was getting the jump on the motors again, I'm like, I'll pull prefab. Yeah. Let's see what happens. And yeah, that was probably my biggest pucker moment. And then one night I got to pull 4 eyes in the dark. That was probably sketchy, turning the corner in the dark when you've never driven that pattern in the corner in the river before.
Yeah. Bob, how about you?
I got there's 2. One was kind of a funny one. Many years ago, we had a big act that we were doing at the state tournament, and I was like the 4th boat to go into the big act, and I was going to pull someone from a beach start. Well, I didn't accommodate for the 3 boats going past me first that washed me onto the beach.
Onto the beach,
and they had to push me off the beach in order to get my skier up. But that was a riot. But one of my scariest moments was not even show skiing, is I was driving for practice at a barefoot tournament, and Blake Heller up at the Blue Moo, he's got an older Sanger, and Blake's got this the approach that I don't work for my boat works for me. So he's not really keen on the maintenance of his boat. And so I was pulling David Small, doing a quick slalom run, and my kids were like 9 and they're in the boat. And I'm wide open with the boat, and I don't know if you've ever been to the Blue Moo, but we got to the end of the lake. I was kind of looking in my mirror, waiting for him to finish his last crossing. Went to pull back on the throttle. The throttle was stuck wide open.
No.
And we were headed to shore. I mean, we were like couple hundred feet from shore. And I immediately just shut the key down as fast as I could and did a hard turn, and we beached into the land. But our life passed before our eyes there for about 2 seconds. I've never had a throttle stick wide open like that before.
Wow.
And thankfully I shut the key off, and we were able to, just kind of beach onto shore and not have a disaster.
Wow.
Yeah, Blake likes to call his boats big old tractors. So.
Wow.
What?
And yours. Well, I was going to say, Bob, your story of getting beached, there's going to be a lot of drivers listening to this. You're not the only one that's had that happen to them. There's many that have been washed ashore and had to get a push off.
Yep.
Yeah, if you say nothing there like that's happened to you, you're lying. Yep. It was fun. I remember specifically the person, Jordan Cathy, he had to push me off. I'm like, get me off quick, get me off. I got to get in the pattern. And he pushed me off and away we went. But yeah, that was it's hilarious. Right in front of everybody at state there, you're rocking on the shore. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I guess kind of along that same vein. So what advice do you guys have for new drivers getting involved with their team in towboat driving for the first time? Chris, we'll start with you.
Questions. Ask as many questions as you can. You're not going to learn by not asking. And if somebody's not willing to answer it, it's a shame. And I'm always asking it for advice. I've asked Bob for advice. I've asked Aaron for advice. I shoot Jaws a message every once in a while for advice. I'm always asking. Even the small, stupidest questions. You're never done learning. So, whenever somebody wants to drive with us, we push, to ask as many questions as possible.
And with 32 certified drivers, that's a lot of questions.
It is.
Bob, how about you? What advice do you have?
Yeah, for sure. Chris is right on point. I mean, ask a lot of questions, bounce things off of. I actually was on the phone with Jaws on the way to practice tonight, talking to him about something that was going on funky in my boat and stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, same thing's happening to me too." I said so, but yeah, ask a lot of questions and be humble. Man, be humble. I mean, it's not about you. When you make a mistake, just own it, man. I mean, it's just, I screwed that up, man. I'm sorry. Is there anything? And ask questions about what can I do better. I mean, strive to make every pull perfect if you can. It's not going to be perfect, but do the best I can and say, what can I do better?
Aaron.
Yep. Humble pie. Have a lot of it. You're going to make mistakes. Even when you don't, you made mistakes. So just get used to it. Questions. Practice your patterns without skiers. I pull up. I've been pulling ballet for 5 years. I pull up every day to practice. If there's not a boat in the pattern, I run my ballet pattern. Make sure my landmarks are the same. I'm not hitting bottom somewhere that's new if the water went up or down. Just be a student. Go to think tank. Listen. Go to clinics. There's endless amounts of things we can do to learn. And yeah, like Chris said, you stop learning, you might as well get out of the boat.
You guys are exactly right. There's so many ways to collaborate in this sport and so many people willing to help and lend a hand and share advice. And there's not secrets. There's collaboration. There's help. And everybody is here to support one another. And you guys nailed it there. Final question for you all. What do you guys love about driving a towboat in a ski show? Aaron, fire away.
Still having the competitive juices. I mean, I skied competitive. I was a figure eight barefooter a long time, did well at that. Skied in the show, did well at that for a long time. Kind of lost that love, Like, well, the wife still wants to do it. The kids are coming up. What can I do? To put me back in the boat gave me a whole new desire and love for the game that I don't want to put it away.
That's cool. Chris, how about you?
It's the smiles. You know what? When somebody accomplishes their goal, it really affects me as a driver. Because without the driver, they're not going to make that goal. And it's one of those things. I pull a lot of adaptive stuff, and that's the ultimate high in towboat driving for me is going to those events and watching those kids and those adults who just can't do it. Get through and accomplish something that they can't do, and so when that smile at the end of the day is there, it's a big win for me.
Bob.
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo a little bit what Chris was saying. Just the smiles of that. There's nothing like the show ski family. You know what I mean? When I've always said this. It's like you're a parent and you have a kid who plays soccer and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But you go and you're kind of sitting on the sidelines. You're watching them play the game and stuff. But with show skiing, it's your whole family. And I've been lucky enough to do it with my wife and my 2 daughters and stuff, and do it for a long time. And there's just nothing like being friends with the Mad City ski team and the RJ and everybody, and just knowing people and, going down and seeing Mark Voisard and guys down at Cypress. There's just nothing like the show ski family. I go out with Roger Olson to breakfast on Fridays over down at Cypress there and sit with Lynn Nowakowski and these legends of Cypress Gardens. And what a riot. I mean, so there's just nothing like it as far as I'm concerned.
Those Friday morning breakfasts is a legendary group.
Yeah, it is.
There's so much talent and knowledge in that group at that diner. It is off the wall.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
We've all been doing it a long time. There's got to be a reason why we're still here, and that's the biggest reason.
Yeah. You guys nailed it. Thank you guys for being on this episode. This was an awesome conversation. Our listeners are really going to love this. Thank you for being here today. This was great.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thanks so much
for having us. It was a pleasure.
It's fantastic.
My pleasure.
Adam, that was awesome. What a fantastic conversation with those drivers.
Yeah, listen, great advice. great stories and great information, and coming from the best in the business. So yeah, you're right. Awesome.
Yeah, I love having them, and we haven't done enough with drivers on this podcast, and that's on us. It's fun to get this perspective. There's so many stories to tell. We could do more. Just listening to them talk got my brain going on more topics and more ideas that we can talk about. It's really endless. And so those guys are great. They're all champion drivers, and it's great to have them on the show today. Thank you to our sponsors. The Board Shop. All your summer and winter board sports gear is yours at bswake.com, and Flyman Skis. Custom-made jump skis, featherboard, swivel skis at affordable prices. Get yours at flymanskis.com. Our next episode is going to be our state tournament recap. That ought to be interesting because a lot of the teams there won't have prepared very much leading up into it due to high water issues that we talked about. A lot of teams have been off the water, and state's going to be a great time for them to get on the water. So we're going to have fun talking about the state tournament on our next episode.
And of course, thanks again to all of our listeners. This is Matt and Adam, and this is The Ski Show.
Thank you for listening to The Ski Show, the ultimate show ski podcast with Matt and Adam. If you have questions or ideas for the show, find us on social media or message us at theskishowpodcast@gmail.com.